Cabo the Great stood at the edge of the training field, arms crossed tight over his chest, jaw clenched. Below him the hunters moved like shadows, sparring in pairs, grunting with every strike, swords flashing under the grey sky. Some moved with deadly skill. Others still stumbled, adjusting grips, catching their breath too soon. It wasn't enough. Beside him, Titus said nothing. The air was filled with the sounds of effort, metal clashing, boots grinding the dirt, commanders shouting corrections. It should have been reassuring, it wasn't. Finally, Titus spoke. His voice was low, heavy. "I've watched them all morning," he said. "They're trying. Every last one of them is giving everything they've got." He paused. "But Cabo, I don't think it'll be enough. We don't have the numbers." Cabo said nothing. His eyes tracked a young hunter, barely 17, fighting with reckless fury, like the enemy was already at the gate. Titus's voice darkened. "You've seen the reports. While we buried our dead and built higher walls, the snake people were multiplying, training, growing their forces in the dark. Cabo, we could lose this war." The words hit like a blade to the gut. Cabo felt it, deep. He finally exhaled, slow, controlled. "I know," he said. "I've known since I woke up to that snake in my room." Silence. Then Titus turned, his eyes burning with something dangerous. Hope or madness. "There might be another way." Cabo's head snapped toward him. "Speak." Titus leaned in. "The Centaurs." Cabo blinked. "The Centaurs." Titus nodded once. "Yes, the first hunters, born before we were. Half man, half beast, closer to the goddess than we ever were. Fierce, ancient, wild. But they still serve the same purpose. They hunt what must be hunted." You are watching the Tales of the Savannah. Subscribe and be part of the tribe. Now let's get back to the story. Cabo hesitated. The Centaurs were legend. They lived far in the wilderness, unseen for years. "You think they'll help us?" Cabo asked. "They pray to her same as us," Titus said. "We don't need promises. We need warriors. The least we can do is ask." Cabo was silent, the gears in his mind already turning. Finally, he nodded. "Then we ride." When Cabo returned to his quarters, Naomi was already dressed, standing by the window, her back straight. She didn't turn when he entered. She didn't need to. "You're leaving," she said quietly. "I have to," Cabo replied, stepping toward her. "We leave in an hour." She turned to face him. Her eyes were steady. "Then take me with you." He froze. "Naomi, they're proud creatures," she interrupted. "Not just warriors. They value strength and grace. Let me ride with you. Let them see who we are. Let them see we're not just blood and blades." Cabo stepped closer, voice dropping. "They could be hostile. They may not welcome us. I won't risk you, Naomi, not for this." She held his gaze. "Then promise me something." "What?" "That you'll come back." He reached for her hand, held it like something fragile. "I will. And when I do, I want you here. Safe." A soft knock. Titus stood in the doorway. Cabo turned. His voice changed, sharp, commanding. "Keep the training going. No one rests. Every blade sharp, every bow tested. If the Centaurs refuse, we still fight." Titus gave a hard nod. "I'll make sure of it." Cabo gave Naomi one last look, just one, then turned to his riders. Only 5. The best, fast, silent, shadows in motion. No banners, no trumpets, just war waiting on the horizon. And with that, they rode into the forest, their cloaks vanishing into the trees swallowed by the mist. The war drums were still silent, but not for long. The forest was old, older than stories, older than names. As Cabo and his 5 riders moved deeper, the light vanished. The trees stretched tall like giants, their trunks twisted, their bark streaked with glowing moss and symbols that pulsed faintly like breathing skin. The air was thick with old magic, heavy, watching, listening. They were not alone. No one spoke, but every hunter felt it. The cold eyes in the dark, the silent steps behind them. This was sacred land, and they were strangers here. By the time they reached the clearing, The sun had vanished behind storm clouds. The glade was circled by ancient standing stones, humming softly like they remembered things men had forgotten. Then came the sound. Hoofbeats, dozens of them, fast, surrounding. The centaurs burst from the trees without warning, tall, fierce, unstoppable. Their horse bodies rippled with muscle, their human torsos marked with glowing tattoos, scars of old wars and sworn oaths. They carried bows taller than a man and spears tipped with black iron. They didn't attack, not yet. Cabo slid off his horse slowly, raising a hand in peace. "I am Cabo the Great. I come seeking the first hunters." From the crowd, one stepped forward, massive, his coat the color of storm clouds, his mane streaked with white. A scar split his cheek like lightning on stone. His eyes were sharp, ancient.
"I know who you are,"
the centaur said, voice deep as thunder.
"Follow."
No questions, no welcome, just a command. They moved deeper into the valley, past strange plants that whispered when touched, past carved stones showing battles long forgotten. Cabo felt small here, young, like a child in the home of ancestors. And then they saw him. Under a tree so tall its branches touched the clouds stood the Centaur king, Barakan. He was a mountain, black-coated, broad, carved by time and war. His face was stone, his eyes fire. He wore no crown, but power rolled off him in waves.
"You have come to ask,"
he said. Cabo bowed low. "Yes, the snake people grow stronger every day. We will fight, but it won't be enough." Barakan's gaze didn't waver.
"Now you come to us, after turning your backs, after forgetting the ones who came before."
Cabo lifted his head. "We didn't forget. We are your legacy. We were shaped in your image. We carried the hunt forward, in your honor." The king's expression didn't change.
"Humans poisoned the earth, broke promises, chased gold and forgot their gods. Why should we bleed for your war?"
Cabo's voice shook. "Because if we fall, the burden will fall on you. The goddess will turn to you next, and your people will hunt again." The wind howled through the trees. Barakan was silent for a long time. Then,
"We do not fight for free, not anymore. If we stand beside you, there must be a bond, a pact deeper than words."
Cabo's chest tightened. "What kind of pact?" Barakan stepped closer, eyes locked with his.
"Blood. One of ours in your line. A child born of both worlds, a bridge, a reminder, and more. Another and another whenever we call for it."
Cabo froze, his heart slammed in his chest. Naomi, her laughter, her eyes the night they wed, the promises they made, the child they dreamed of, still only a whisper between them. And now, this. But then he saw his people again, their blades, their eyes, their hope. He dropped to one knee. "I agree," he whispered. Barakan pulled an obsidian blade, silent, swift. He cut his palm, then Cabo's. They clasped hands, blood, meeting blood. The pact was sealed. Centaurs raised their voices in a roar that shook the valley. The ground trembled. The forest stirred. Old magic answered. The alliance was made. But as the echoes faded into the trees and the sky turned black above them, Cabo felt no victory, only dread. He had chosen life for his people, but in doing so, he had betrayed the one person he loved most. And far away, Naomi stood in their home, staring out the window, her hand over her belly, unaware of the price just paid in her name. Vusi ran down the mountain like a hunted beast. Branches tore at his skin, rocks scraped his legs. His lungs burned, but he didn't stop. He couldn't. His face was dry now, but the pain still clung to him like smoke after fire. The image of his father's body still haunted him, fresh and cruel. But grief would have to wait. He had to reach the camp. He had to make sure the others were safe. But something was wrong. The closer he got, the quieter the world became. No birds, no wind, no crackling leaves, just silence, the kind that makes your bones go cold. Then it hit him. The smell, metallic, sharp, thick, blood. Vusi's heart lurched, his legs moved faster. He shoved through trees, through tangled roots and into the clearing, and stopped. No, 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 no. It was a nightmare made real. Bodies, everywhere. The camp was a slaughterhouse. Snake people, his people, lay broken and twisted across the ground. Blood soaked the grass, the leaves, the stones. Heads were gone, clean cuts, messy tears. Some had tried to fight. Most didn't even get the chance. Vusi's knees gave out. He hit the ground hard, hands digging into bloody dirt. His mouth opened in a soundless cry. His whole body shook. He didn't blink. He didn't move. He just stared. Then he saw her. Noma. Just yesterday she had laughed, shared food with the little ones, and now her body was cold. Her neck ended in nothing. Vusi crawled to her side. His fingers trembled as he reached for her, but there was no life, no breath, only red. His friends, the men he had come with from Snake Island, now gone. "This is my fault," he whispered. "I brought them here. I gathered them. I promised safety." His voice broke. "And now they're dead." He rose, slow and stiff like an old man. His hands were covered in blood. His boots sunk into it, and something inside him snapped. Grief turned to rage. His mother's face came to his mind. Palesa. She had said she had helped to protect the snake people. He had assumed she meant the goddess, but now he knew what she meant. She had help from a hunter. She had lied. She hadn't protected them. She had sold them. She had let a hunter into their world, trusted him, loved him, lay with him, bore his child, a hunter's child, half of the enemy. Vusi's fists clenched, his arms trembled, his eyes burned with hate. "You chose him over us," he spat into the wind. "You brought him into our lives and called it love." He kicked the ground, teeth bared. "My father worshipped you. He gave you everything, and you repaid him with betrayal." The camp spun around him, bodies and blood and ghosts. He could hardly breathe. "This was never fate," he growled. "This was you, Mother. You did this." Maybe if she had stayed loyal, they would still be safe, still alive, still whole. He took one last look at the carnage. Then he turned back toward the mountain. He would not go back to Snake Island empty-handed. No, he would take something back. He turned and marched back toward the mountain, not with sorrow in his step, but with war in his blood. Palesa woke with a jolt, gasping for air, her whole body trembling. She sat up, clutching her chest. Vusi. The dream had felt so real. He had been shouting at her, his voice broken with rage. Accusations she could barely remember, but the pain lingered. Behind her, someone cleared their throat. She turned fast, startled. Zorro stood near, arms folded. "It's time," he said, voice calm, but his eyes, they had seen too much already. She pulled her cloak over her chest, feeling suddenly exposed and embarrassed. "Yes, thank you." Zorro quickly turned away. Beside her, Sia was already awake, watching. A flicker of a smile touched his lips. "Bad dream?" he asked. She hesitated. "My son, Vusi. I saw him. He was shouting at me." Sia froze. His smile vanished. Something tightened in his chest. Jealousy, anger, maybe even guilt. "He's safe," Sia said quickly. "Still on Snake Island." Palesa shook her head. "No, he left. He went to save our people, just like I did." Sia stood up, his voice sharp. "And you let him?" "I couldn't stop him. The Queen wanted another attempt. Vusi volunteered." Sia groaned, already strapping on his gear. "I warned you, Palesa." She looked at the ground, thinking, fearing what the dream could mean. Sia did not want to talk about Vusi or that side of her. "We need to go," he said sharply, and they did. When they arrived at the riverbank, Mandisa was waiting. Her voice was calm, like still water. "Mami Wata sends word. She welcomes you into her waters." Zorro and Sia exchanged a look. Sia stepped forward. "Palesa shouldn't come. This could be a trap." I didn't come all this way to stand on the shore, she said, steel in her voice. Besides, your blades won't help you down there. But I can. They remembered Snake Island, the battle, the drowning. She was right. They said nothing more. Mandisa turned and walked into the river, and the water opened like a portal. It parted like breath, revealing a glowing world beneath, a kingdom of coral spires, shimmering fish, and ancient power. There, seated on a throne of sea bone and pearl, was Mami Wata. She was beautiful and angry. Her smile was slow, dangerous. A delicious reunion, she purred. Welcome, hunters. And what's this? Her gaze landed on Palesa. A snake, the mother. How perfect. She laughed, low, echoing. So, the whole family, finally. She clapped her hands. Bring the boy. 2 sea guards dragged Tendai forward. He stumbled but stood straight. His eyes swept the room and stopped on Palesa. He froze. Confusion, anger, recognition, but no words. Then Mami Wata rose. She moved like smoke underwater, graceful, hypnotic, deadly. Her smile vanished. You tricked me, she said, locking eyes with Zorro. You promised me a flower, but it was fake. A lie. Zorro cleared his throat. We beg you, Mami Wata. Forgive us. We were desperate, and the times were dark. Oh, I do enjoy a man who begs, she said with a grin. But begging won't save any of you. She raised a hand. The waters around them stirred. Something massive moved in the distance. Fight, my beast, she said, her voice like silk over steel. Win, and you walk free, all of you. Lose, and your bones will join the reef. I will fight, Palesa said. Gasps echoed through the court. Even the water seemed to shudder. Mami Wata turned slowly, eyes narrowing. You? A snake, fighting for a hunter. Palesa nodded once. He is my son. Tendai's eyes widened. He couldn't breathe. Why? She was supposed to be the enemy. And yet, here she was, offering her life. Why would she do this? If she had come to the river that day, alone, he didn't know what he would have done. He had rage in his blood. And now, she was about to fight for him? Mami Wata smiled, slow, cold, satisfied. Very well, she said. It is settled. Sia's voice broke in. There must be another way. There is not, Mami Wata snapped. She stepped close, circling them like a shark. But since you wronged me, her fingers brushed Sia's shoulder, then Zorro's, then Tendai's. One of you must pay with your body. A night with the Sea Queen. I've never tasted hunter, but snakes. Oh, snakes I've had, many times. Zorro straightened. I've had fish, many times, he said calmly, but never a mermaid. I wonder if it tastes the same. The court gasped. Mami Wata blinked, then laughed, wild and echoing. You are bold, Zorro. I like that. She pointed at him. Grandfather it is. Then her voice turned cold. Take the others to the south cells. The guards grabbed them, dragging Palesa, Sia, and Tendai down long coral halls glowing with blue lights. They were thrown into a cold chamber carved from sea stone. For the first time, mother, father, and son were alone. No guards, no war, just silence. So much pain, so much left unsaid. Sia paced. Palesa sat in the corner. Tendai didn't speak. Not yet. In that moment, Tendai thought of Malaika, her smile, the way she used to laugh at his terrible jokes, the warmth of her hand in his, the fire in her eyes when she argued with him. He saw her face so clearly now, it almost hurt. He had carried her memory with him, clutched it like a shield through the long, cold night in these sea-soaked cells. It had been the only thing keeping him from breaking. But now, looking at Palesa, something shifted. She had stood tall, ready to give her life for his. The same woman who had given birth to him, the same woman he had once vowed to hate. She stood before Mami Wata without fear, for him. And there was Sia, silent, watchful, steady, A man who had risked everything just to bring him home. They were both here, because of him. Tendai's chest grew tight. He couldn't speak. He sat down slowly on the cold floor. His hands trembled. And then it hit him. He was going to be a father. The thought struck like lightning, loud, raw, real. A father. There was a child, his child, growing somewhere far from here. And he had walked away. He had left Malika behind, left her to carry that weight alone. What had he done? His breath shook. The cell felt smaller now, like it was closing in. His heart thudded hard against his ribs. Maybe he had made a mistake. Maybe leaving was the biggest mistake of his life. And now, it might be too late to make it right. There was a knock on Cabo's door. "Come in," he said without looking up, still buried in paperwork. The door creaked open. A young man stepped inside, hesitant, but with purpose in his stride. Cabo didn't look up immediately. He didn't need to. He already knew the young man. He knew them all. That was the kind of leader Cabo was. "Mandla," he said, his voice calm, "from the House of Dumo. Your father was a brave man, and you have made your family proud." Mandla bowed his head. "Thank you, sir." Cabo returned to his papers. Silence stretched in the room like a thick rope between them. But then he looked up, sensing the tension in the young man's breath. "What is it, Hunter?" he asked, more serious now. Mandla cleared his throat. "I've heard about Malika, about her condition." Cabo's pen froze mid-sentence. The room grew still. "I want to marry her, if you would allow it." Cabo blinked. For a moment, the air in the room went still. The leader of the hunters, a man who had seen many wars, many losses, was stunned. "Why would you do such a thing?" he asked gently. Mandla lifted his eyes. There was no fear in them, only truth. "Because I've loved her for a long time, but she never looked my way, not once. I thought maybe now she might see me, and maybe I could take away her shame." Cabo leaned back in his chair, studying the young man. A good hunter, loyal, brave, respectful. "Mandla," he said gently, "if I say yes, it will not matter unless she agrees. The final word is hers." Mandla nodded and bowed his head. "Thank you," he said, then turned and left. In the dining hall, Malika sat alone. The food in front of her was untouched, cold. She stared through it like it wasn't there, like nothing was. She didn't want to be here. Her sister had forced her to eat something, said she was wasting away. But Malika couldn't taste the food anymore, couldn't feel the hunger. What she felt was worse, shame. She touched her belly. Her hands trembled. Her throat burned with the tears she refused to let fall. She had become the story mothers warned their daughters about, the girl who gave herself to love and was left behind. A soft cough broke her thoughts. She looked up. Mandla. He stood near her table, nervous. "May I sit with you?" he asked. She gave a slow nod. He sat. The silence sat heavier than either of them. Then Malika found her voice. "Mandla, how can I help you?" He looked her in the eye, steady, brave. "I want to ask for your hand," he said. "In marriage." She blinked. "What?" He leaned forward, speaking clearly. "I know about your condition. I know Tendai left. But I'm still here. I want to stand by you. I want to take away the shame. I want to give this child a name. I want to give you peace." Malika's breath caught. Her lip quivered. "Why?" she asked, voice small. "Why would you do that?" "Because I love you," he said. "I always have. And you never looked my way. But I saw you. I saw the good in you, the strength, and I still see it now. Let me help you. Let me carry this burden with you." Tears welled up in her eyes. She looked away, swallowing the lump in her throat. Her mind screamed, "Don't hope. Don't dream." "Is this pity, Mandla?" she whispered. A pity proposal for the fallen girl? No, he said. It's a choice. My choice. Malika stared at her cold food, then at him. There was pain in her heart, but something else stirred. Not love. Not yet. But maybe the chance to begin again. She wiped her tears. I need time, she said, voice cracking. Just a few days. Mandla nodded. I have waited this long. I can wait a little more. He stood. She watched him walk away. Her hand returned to her belly. Maybe her child would still have a father, but even as that hope flickered, the tears began to fall. This time, she let them. Django moved quickly through the corridor, his boots silent against the polished floors. He had been looking for Nandi. Something inside him had been restless all day. He needed to see her, to hold her, to feel close to her again. Something felt off, like something was coming. Then he saw her. She was standing in a quiet corner near the far end of the hall, almost hidden behind a pillar. She wasn't alone. Diallo stood with her, close, too close. They were whispering to each other, their heads bent together, their faces serious, intense. Django stopped in his tracks. He didn't call out. He didn't walk forward. He just watched. It hit him like a punch to the chest. The way they looked at each other, the way she touched Diallo's arm gently as she whispered. He had always known they were close. Brother and sister. Closer than most. They had been that way since he first met Nandi. But now, it felt different. It felt like a secret he wasn't allowed to hear, a world he wasn't allowed to enter. He was her husband. But in that moment, watching them, he felt like a stranger. Jealousy curled in his gut, bitter and sharp. There had been whispers before, about Diallo, about the two of them. He had never believed them. But now, he watched as Nandi looked up into Diallo's eyes, whispering to him in the shadows. I don't know how I feel anymore, she whispered. Since we came back from the forest, everything's been strange. It's euphoric, like something inside me has woken up. Maybe it's the Guardian or my transformation. I don't know, it's weird. Diallo nodded slowly, his voice just as low. I didn't tell you this before, but I discovered something while we were there. Nandi's brows furrowed. What did you discover? You remember what they said about Kwame? That he turned into a snake? Yes, she said, leaning closer. I needed to know if he was one of mine. Nandi's breath caught. What? I didn't tell you because you were already dealing with so much. But yes, Nandi, he's mine. She stared at him, eyes wide. How do you know? He told me about his mother, and I remembered her, from my time in the army. I remember her face, and he looks just like her. Nandi exhaled slowly, deeply. Her voice cracked. What? What are you going to do? I don't know yet. She looked at him for a long moment. Her hand gripped his arm. This is too much, Diallo. I know, he said quietly. From the shadows, Django turned away. His heart was heavy, his chest tight. He didn't want to see more. He didn't understand it, but something inside him had just cracked. Back in the corner, Nandi's voice dropped again. Have you heard about Samuel? Diallo nodded. Whispers. It's no longer whispers, Diallo. It's real. He's leading a rebellion. He's speaking in dining halls and corners, getting the young ones worked up. You have to talk to him. You're the only one who might reach him. Diallo's face turned cold. If he makes the wrong move... No, Nandi cut in, gripping his sleeve. Don't let him destroy everything we've built. You must stop him, Diallo, or he'll burn all of it to the ground. He nodded, jaw tight. I'll find him. Then he turned and disappeared into the shadows. And Nandi, still standing alone in the corner, closed her eyes. Suddenly a loud commotion echoed through the halls of the hunter base. Something was happening. Nandi, now visibly pregnant, turned and followed. She saw people rushing in one direction, hunters, young and old, moving quickly, whispering in panic, in awe. Her heart began to pound. She followed the flow of bodies, one hand resting on her belly. When she reached the large open hall, the crowd had gathered thick. Everyone stood still, forming a wide circle, and at the very front stood Django, alone, tense. She could see his shoulders rise and fall with each breath. Nandi pushed through the crowd. At first no one moved, but when they saw her, they stepped aside, silently, respectfully, and when she got to the front, her breath caught in her throat. She gasped. Beings of legend stood before them. The Centaurs, towering creatures, half man, half horse, stood proudly in the center of the ancient futuristic hall. Their skin shimmered under the sanctuary's light. Their horse bodies were strong, built like war beasts. Their human torsos were covered in armor made of scales and silver, eyes glowing faintly with power. They carried no weapons, but none dared challenge them. They looked like gods. A silence fell over the hall. One stepped forward. His voice was deep and full of command. His presence pressed on the room like a storm.
Hunters, our brothers, in blood and in worship.
Everyone froze.
You have forgotten,
He said.
You have forgotten the old customs, the sacred agreement. For generations you have been silent. For generations you have given nothing.
The crowd stirred. Some looked to Django, others looked to Nandi. Django's throat tightened. He knew the words. The old writing. The pact Cabo the Great had made, long before any of them were born. A pact sealed in blood. An exchange. But they had thought it was over. A myth. Django stepped forward. He bowed slightly, unsure what else to do. We welcome you, our brothers, he said, trying to steady his voice. Please, speak plainly. Tell us your message. The Centaur leader took a breath. The air around him seemed to hum. His eyes locked on Nandi.
We have come to claim what is owed.
A shiver ran through the crowd. He pointed toward her.
The boy she carries belongs to us, by blood, by vow, as was agreed by Cabo the Great, and the great Barakan, our ancestor.
Nandi's legs buckled, her vision blurred. She fell to her knees, gasping. The room tilted, spinning, voices fading around her. Gasps echoed behind her. Someone reached for her arm, but she couldn't hear. Her heart thundered. The boy. The boy. She looked up at Django. His face was pale, stunned. He looked at the Centaurs, then at her. He didn't know what to do. Nandi had given up the girl to the Guardian, and now the boy was being claimed for an ancient pact. The crowd stayed frozen. No one moved, not a single breath. The Centaurs stood, unmoving, watching. They had come, and they had come to collect. And that, my dear tribe, brings us to the end of another thrilling chapter in our Snake People vs. Hunters saga. What a ride it's been. This week, Cabo the Great ventures boldly into the land of the first hunters, the mighty Centaurs, and strikes a pact sealed in blood and vow. Meanwhile, across time, Vusi finally arrives at the Snake People's camp, only to find devastation, ambush, annihilation. His heart shatters as he realizes they never stood a chance, and in that moment, he blames her, his own mother. She laid with the enemy, a hunter, and now, death has followed. Elsewhere, Zoro, Sia, and Palesa descend into the waters, guided by Mandisa. There, Mami Wata awaits. She welcomes them, but with a challenge. One must face her beast. Palesa steps forward, brave, determined. Will she survive the battle beneath the waves? Zoro, meanwhile, is left to answer a more curious question. Does a mermaid taste like a fish? Well, you'll have to ask him. Tendai wrestles with the guilt of leaving Malaika behind, just as Mandla rises to take his place. Cabo says the choice is Malaika's, but she says she needs time, and time may be running out for the man she truly waits for, Tendai. In the present day, Diallo and Nandi share an intimate moment. One Django watches closely. Are they just siblings, as they claim? Rumors whisper otherwise. But now, there's no time for whispers. Something stirs in their futuristic sanctuary. The Centaurs have returned to claim what was promised by Cabo the Great and the great Barakan. What happens next, we'll just have to wait and see. Until then, stay wild, stay curious, and stay ready for what's to come. Want to support the channel and become an even bigger part of our tribe? You can join for as little as the cost of a coffee each month. Your support helps me continue creating the content you love, but of course, just having you here is already more than enough. Thank you for being part of this journey. A warm and heartfelt thank you to all the amazing tribe members who have chosen to join and support this incredible journey. Your belief in this channel means the world to me, and I'm so glad to have you along for the ride. And as always, thank you for watching our story, and we hope you enjoyed it. What lessons did you draw from this story? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and be part of the tribe. Thank you for watching The Tales of the Savannah. We will see you next time in the Savannah.